Welcome to, now I am probably in the wrong place. Welcome to Feminist Question Time on the 30th of January, 2021. Feminist Question Time is brought to you by Women's Human Rights Campaign. It's an organization, international feminist organization that promotes women's rights. It's got a main focus on defending women's sex-based rights against the threats posed by gender identity ideology. You can find more information on the website womensdeclaration.com, where you'll find our declaration on women's sex-based rights. The declaration has been signed by 14,272 people from 126 countries, and it's supported by 300 organizations. This week, I am delighted to welcome 5 women panelists. We have Ana Julia Di Licio from Argentina, Rosa Borg from Malta, Christina Ellinson from Norway, Christine Gaffney from Ireland, and Ruth Barrett from the USA. We're going to be focusing on self-ID because self-ID has progressed very far in the 4 countries of the 4 first speakers: Argentina, Malta, Norway, and Ireland. And to round off the webinar, we're going to have a conversation chat with Ruth Barrett from the USA, who's the editor of the groundbreaking book, Female Erasure, which I'll tell you more about. So a lot of you will have read it anyway, but we'll talk to her about the book. So welcome. Now, many of you know that we have a chat function, so do go into the chat, press on the chat function and talk to each other, network, and we also make these videos, the videos available later on YouTube. We also have a breakout room after the 1.5 hour, 90-minute session, and we'll post some information about that in the chat. So I'm very happy first for our first panelist to introduce Ana Julia Di Licio. She's an activist and researcher based in Argentina, and she's going to talk to you about the effects of self-ID in Argentina. So over to you, Ana Julia.
Hi, thank you, Joe, for having me here. And it's an honor to be here. Just a little thing, I am based in Berlin. So I think I have a little bit more freedom to say the things I'm about to say. So shall I already share my screen with you all?
Yes, that's perfect. That would be perfect.
Sure. Here we go. Is everything fine? Do you see everything? Okay, so I started my presentation showing how the evolution of men happened in Argentina, going from gaucho to queer macho. And if you see, there's a very small question and the women. So we have the law, the ID law since 2012. And before I answer to the question, when and how was this law enacted in my country, I would like to give you like a brief context about Argentina, which is a very unequal country. I said that in the past years, it went from a macho culture to a queer macho one, because with this law, they tried to hide all the negative things about the macho culture, like misogyny, under this glitter carpet, where men are glorified because they are not afraid to use makeup or clothes like dresses. In Argentina, the oppression of women is very strong, and it is also combined with class and color oppressions. The money and the power is concentrated in the big cities, mainly Buenos Aires. And in the rest of the country, people are more isolated. This means that they have less to say in politics. To illustrate this, 40 to 60% of the population live in poverty or extreme poverty in Argentina. The self-ID law was approved on May 2012 by Orazio Conti, now he's called Diana Conti, who is an autogynephilic male lawyer. You can see him down there in the photo. I would also suggest that there is a similarity with the Irish case, because in 2010, similar proposals for the ID law were presented together with the matrimonio igualitario, which is the same-sex marriage. This law was presented by the center-left Christina Kirchner party. You can see her on the picture also giving out the new IDs for these autogynephilic men. And although in reality it is a very neoliberal party, but also the only party that achieves to structure some kind of social system to support the big poor population. This creates a recurrent circle where people need to stick to this party because there's no other option for them. There is extreme political fanatism that can only be challenged by the right wing and conservatives. The law was introduced in the most deceitful way, as we know it happens all the time, and it was supported also by the NGO called GATE, which was created in 2009, but the same NGO is the one organized in Spain, for example, to go very openly against radical feminists and women's movements. Since Argentina was the first country to introduce such a law in the world, it was very hard to imagine the magnitude of the harm it could cause as well. So what effects of self-ID have I seen on women's and girls' rights and spaces? So here I collected a couple of pictures where you can see that it's mainly about men. The pictures with Spanish words are publicity from the government pushing for prostitution, but I will get back to that in a moment. So since the self-ID law has been enacted in the countries like Canada, Sweden, and Argentina, the femicide rates result in 3 times higher than in the countries with similar structures or qualities without these laws. The state has programs to indoctrinate the population, from the media and the newspapers to infiltrating in universities, but also they arrange visits to companies to give talks about the gender ideology, how inclusivity should be, and what we should do to comply with the ID law. There is a regulation institution called INADI. They were created to act on discrimination, but now they are mainly focusing on misgendering cases. But INADI seems not to have anything to say about the lesbians being erased from the LGBT spaces. Lesbians are totally silenced, and the only way for them to exist or to even be accepted in the society is to adopt a male gender identity. The LGBT community is mainly about drag queens and gays or any other man with different gender identities. They keep using LGBT, but in reality should be only GT, since lesbians are not even shown anywhere. These men from the GT are also pushing for spaces like toilets without gender. For this reason, the construction companies in Argentina, like architects, added to their specialties multi-gender toilets for public places like universities and malls. I get a lot of emails from women telling me that they have to create secret accounts to follow radical feminist accounts like mine, where I show very raw content about different cases of autogynephilia. And this made it very clear to me that women in Argentina are living in a de facto totalitarian gender ideology regime, where saying anything different than the gender ideology can make them lose their jobs, their friends, turn them into a social pariah. So here in this photo, what I'm trying to show is this is like a regular ads about women, let's say, yeah, women's underwear, where you see in the center of the photo, there are 3 men with the red circles. You can imagine what I mean with this photo, but the reason I want to show this photo to you is because you see on the side, the other photo, the man is very close to the woman with his genitals. So you have to imagine someone getting finally a job to be photographed, and then you get to the set, and then this is what you find, right? You have to be smiling while you have the male genitals close to you, or even thrusting you or touching you, etc. Since the ID law has been pushed by the same current government years ago, they have been focusing always on the next points of the neoliberal gender agenda. And what is currently happening is that prostitution is being publicized on the open TV channel that belongs to the state called TV Pública. This is happening while Argentina is an abolitionist country since 1936. They made TV spots and big campaigns to promote the legalization of prostitution. There in the photos, for example, you can see how they are modifying the flag to add the red umbrella. And what you see on the other corner of the photo is AMAR, which is the organization pushing for prostitution very aggressively in Argentina. What you can also see in the black and white pictures is that 80% of these people pushing for prostitution in Argentina are men dressed as women. Then comes Fundación Huésped, which is another ally in this agenda against women. They used to be a foundation to fight against AIDS, and now they are a fully functional branch office of the gender politic lobby. They offer hormone treatments,